Hello, my name is Ako Eyong. I'm a UFIB football coach. Welcome to my channel. And today I really want to touch on something which is very personal to me as a Cameroonian, as an African in general. Um, this is just my opinion. I know people have their own opinion when it comes to stuff like this, but we live in a continent. I'm talking about Africa, where we only develop players for the European market. And again, as I said earlier, people have different reasons for doing different things. We have so many clubs back home who develop these players, and the first aim is to um, move them abroad to play in the European leagues and all that. But what we don't think about is how we can. Well, I understand that the reason they want most of these players to move are economic, because if you have a player who moves abroad and plays for a decent club, maybe in Western Europe, that means a lot of money for the football club, money for the players and all that. But my approach is different. When are we going to start developing our own football? When are we going to start building proper infrastructures? When are we going to start training coaches? When are we going to bring in sponsors, so that when we develop players, we do not just develop these players to go play in Europe or in Asia. We are developing players who play in Africa in front of their friends and family and get paid good money. Because at the end of the day, most of these players make these moves to Europe or Asia because of the playing conditions, especially economic reasons. So when are we ever going to improve our own leagues? When are we ever going to develop our own league, so that we have players born and raised in Africa, develop in Africa, play football in front of their friends and family, and get paid good money? Because if I was a professional footballer, of course I want to play abroad because I need money. So we have to start thinking of how we can develop our own leagues, on how we can develop our infrastructure, on how we can bring in sponsors, so that our players develop in Africa can play football back home and get paid good money. Because most of the times we always want to move these players abroad, and there are so many challenges. You have visa restrictions, you have the weather conditions. We've seen young players who leave Africa, go abroad, go to a country where the weather conditions are so harsh, they have no friends, they have no family, and some of these clubs don't even pay so well, and they lost their dreams. There is a BBC documentary on
The players are some of Africa's best young talent, but they rely on a charity founded by Emmanuel for these training sessions because they're living here illegally. Many are victims of football agents who've cheated them with false promises of a place with a European team. Some estimates reckon 15,000 African footballers are now stranded across Europe.
Everyone have a story here. Some they don't have where to sleep. Okay, you just arrive, you say, okay, come and sleep with me. That is better here than to sleep in the metro.
I was speaking to many
African players who were duped by unscrupulous agents and coaches, and for some reason they found themselves in France and realized that they couldn't even play football because they had no contracts. But these people have taken money from them, and there are thousands of them. And most of these boys, when they find themselves in positions like this, they can't go back home. Now they have lost that dream. We have thousands of players back home, thousands of very good players. How many of them actually make it to the big leagues in Europe? Maybe just a handful, let's say 1,000 a year. So what happens to the other 100,000 we have back home? So what I'm saying is that we have to start thinking of improving our own league. We have to start thinking of developing our own infrastructure. We have to start thinking of how to bring in sponsors so that we develop our own football. because the laws are changing every day. We see the European countries changing their laws, making it difficult for players to move from Africa to go play in Europe. And I don't blame them, because they have their own players here who they want to develop and want to see them play at decent levels. That is why they are coming out with all these laws that restrict players coming from abroad to play in their leagues. So what we have to do is do our best to develop our league. Some countries are already doing it, like countries like Tanzania. I'm talking about countries in sub-Saharan Africa. They are trying, they are developing their football. If you look at clubs like Simba, Azam, Young Africans, they are trying their very best, but there is a lot still to be done. The guys in North Africa are almost getting there. The likes of Egypt, Tunisia, Morocco, Algeria, they are doing great when it comes to developing their football. South Africa is doing well as well. But those of us in sub-Saharan Africa, we have to start thinking on how to develop our football. Because every time you watch a video, it's about someone talking about going to play in Europe. Everyone, someone texts you is wanting to go play in Europe. It is difficult. It's not as easy as you think. And if we had developed our football, we wouldn't be having all these problems. So our governments have to start thinking on how to develop our own football. It's very important, because we have so many good players that have cut their dreams short because football doesn't offer them anything back home. Very good players, they play for free, nobody pays them. And it gets to a point where you need money as a young man, but these football clubs can't even pay. So they forget about football and do something else, because the football is not bringing food into the table. So I am saying, club owners, CEOs, coaches, can we do our very best to develop our own football? We want to see African players play in Africa and get paid good money. We do not just want to be in a situation where every shining star in Africa, oh, we need to start looking for clubs in Europe for him to go play in Europe. There are so many challenges for these players moving to go play in Europe, loads and loads of them. So we should start thinking of how to develop our own football. Thank you.